The city was still waking when Claire Donovan, the formidable CEO of Donovan Enterprises, walked into her glass tower office with the same stern expression that had become her mask for years, her assistants whispering that she had no time for emotions, only numbers and results, her shoes clicking on the marble floor as if keeping rhythm with the cold efficiency of her empire. But that morning, her path was interrupted by something she never expected, for just outside the revolving doors of her headquarters stood a little girl in a faded blue dress, no older than 8, with tangled hair and eyes that carried a depth of longing that froze Claire mid-step, because the girl wasn't begging for money like Southwest many street children in the city, nor was she selling roses or tissues. She was simply standing there clutching a stuffed rabbit missing one ear, looking straight up at Claire with trembling lips before blurting out words that would unravel the steel cage around the CEO's heart. "I don't have mama. Can I spend a day with you, ma'am?" A question so raw, so disarming, that even the employees carrying stacks of reports paused in disbelief, waiting to see if their famously untouchable boss would brush past or lash out. But Claire, for reasons she could not explain, felt something crack in her chest, as if the child's voice had pierced through years of buried grief, for she too once had lost someone she loved, her own mother in a tragic accident when she was only 12, and though she had since built walls of steel, the memory of crying alone at night had never left, so against every instinct of her business-hardened mind, she crouched down, her designer suit brushing the cold pavement, and asked softly, "What's your name, little one?" And the girl whispered, "Emily," clutching her rabbit tighter as though it were her only shield, and with that one word a chain of events began that neither the CEO nor the child could have foreseen, a day that would stretch into a bond deeper than either had known they needed, for Claire impulsively told her assistant to cancel the morning meeting with investors and instead held Emily's small hand, leading her inside the corporate tower where gasps and whispers followed, employees stunned to see their ice queen leader with a child by her side, and yet Claire did not care, because for the first time in years her heart wasn't thinking of profit margins but of warmth, of the fragile trust in Emily's grip. And as the day unfolded with Claire showing Emily her office, introducing her to startled executives, and even letting her sit in the CEO's chair, laughter began to fill corners of the building where fear had reigned. Emily's innocent questions about skyscrapers and why grown-ups never smile, sparking awkward chuckles even from the stern board members, but beneath the light moments was a heavier truth, for Emily was not simply lost, she was an orphan whose mother had died of illness and whose father had disappeared, leaving her in the care of a struggling grandmother who barely had food for both. And when Claire heard this whispered confession during lunch at the executive dining hall, her chest tightened, memories of her own lonely childhood flooding back until she excused herself to the restroom just to compose the tears threatening to fall, realizing that this child had been sent into her life for a reason, and though the world saw her as unshakable, Claire knew she had been carrying a void that even her billions could not fill, a void Emily's trembling plea had touched. So as the afternoon waned, Claire surprised everyone by taking Emily out of the tower and into the city park, pushing her gently on the swings, laughing when Emily asked if the ducks belonged to her 2 cents, "You look like you own everything." And as the sunset painted the sky, Claire sat on the bench listening to Emily's stories of her mother singing lullabies and her dream of becoming a teacher, and in that fragile, golden light, the CEO made a silent vow that this was not going to be just one day, that somehow she would protect this little girl from the harshness of the world. But just as that warmth solidified in her heart, Claire's phone rang with urgent calls from her board, warning that investors were pulling out of a critical deal because she had missed the meetings. Her reputation for discipline was on the line, and critics were circling like sharks. And for the first time in years Claire faced a choice. Not between profit and loss but between keeping her empire flawless or allowing her heart to follow the cry of a child who had nothing. And as she looked at Emily, who had fallen asleep against her shoulder clutching the rabbit, Claire realized that her destiny had shifted forever, that what mattered wasn't just building towers of glass but building a life where love and humanity had a place. And with the setting sun casting long shadows of both her corporate crown and her newfound bond, she whispered to herself, maybe today was the most important investment I've ever made, not knowing that her decision would unleash battles both in her boardroom and her soul in the days to come, for people would question, rivals would attack, and Emily's past would reveal secrets even Claire wasn't ready for. But none of that could erase the moment a little girl without a mother asked the most powerful woman in the city to simply be hers for a day. Viewers, if you want to see how Claire's journey with Emily unfolds, through trials of business empires, broken families, and the healing power of love, stay tuned, subscribe now, and join this emotional journey where power meets innocence and every twist will touch your heart.